Hi, welcome to the best course online to learn how to boost your coding speed using Intellij Idea. I am Faisal and I have created this course to share the experience that I have gained in my career with you. The number one goal of this course is to make sure that you learn Intellij Idea the right way so that you can become a better and a productive developer. This is not a theoretical course. So in this course, we will be actually using Intellij Idea to explore every feature that it has to offer developers. After completing this course, you will be very comfortable with Intellij Idea and you will be able to double your coding speed. You will become much more productive and you will be able to save a lot more time by using all the techniques that I have taught in this course. This course is backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, making it completely risk-free for you. So what are you waiting for? I'll see you inside. Thank you.
Hello guys, welcome back. So in this lecture, we are going to download the necessary tools that we are going to need to start coding. By the end of this lecture, you will understand from where and how you can download these tools. So let's get started. So I am on the Google homepage and the first tool that we are going to talk about is the Intellij Idea. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to first type in Intellij Idea system requirements, and there is a link that is going to pop up here, Intellij Idea installation guide. I'm going to go there and this is the link that we'll be referring. So this is the official link of Intellij Idea and this website is jetbrains.com. So JetBrains is the company that develops and manages this particular IDE and it's the parent company of Intellij Idea. So this is the website and we see that they have described Intellij Idea and they say that there are two versions of Intellij Idea. One is the community edition and other one is the ultimate edition. So community edition is a free open source version and it's licensed under Apache 2.0. And it provides all the basic features for JVM and Android development. However, ultimate version is in commercial version with 30-day free trial and it provides a set of additional tools and features for web and enterprise developments. So we will be using the community version. We don't need the ultimate version. Ultimate version is majorly used by businesses, but for learning purpose, we'll be using community edition only. If you have any specific requirements later on, you can definitely upgrade to ultimate version anytime. But free version should be enough for you to learn and understand this course. So we'll talk about the system requirements now. So there is a set of requirements that JetBrains has listed on their website and it's a RAM requirement that you need minimum of 2 GB of RAM for this particular tool to operate properly. You will need 2.5 GB or I can say 3.5 GB in total of disk space, from which 2.5 GB will be used for this tool itself and 1 GB will be for cache. This is the monitor resolution that they expect and this is the OS version that they expect. So if you are on Windows, you need Windows 8 or later. If you are on Mac, you need Mac OS 10.13 or later. And in terms of Linux, any Linux distribution that supports GNOME, KDE or Unity DE is okay. So this is the minimum requirements. However, they have a recommended set of numbers here. So for RAM, they recommend at least 8 GB of RAM. And disk space, SSD drive with 5 GB of space. This is the monitor resolution. And this is the operating system that you need. However, this is just a recommendation from them. It's perfectly fine if you have ticked everything in the minimum column here. Also, they've mentioned here that you don't need to install Java to run Intellij Idea because it comes bundled with JRE. So you don't need to install Java. However, you will need a standalone JDK version to start developing Java app. So this is about the system requirements and the types of Intellij that JetBrains has to talk about. So now to download the Intellij Idea, we'll click over here on the top right, get Intellij Idea, and you'll be redirected to this particular page, or you can directly go to this page by searching for Intellij Idea, and if you type enter, you go to this JetBrains website, and here you see a download button. You click on download and you are taken to the same page which we were earlier on. So I'll close one of them, and on this particular page you see the current version of the Intellij Idea. So as I'm filming this video, I am on 2020 version, but don't worry, like if you are seeing this later on and if there's a new version that has come out, don't worry. I frequently update my videos if there are any major changes by Intellij. So as long as you are able to see these buttons to download, I think it's perfectly fine. And you'll see tabs over here for different operating systems. So for Windows, Mac and Linux. And I'm on Mac, so I'll keep Mac selected. And you'll see two versions here, which we spoke about, the ultimate version and the community version. So like we discussed, we will be using the free and open source version here. And you can click on download to get started with the download. Or alternatively, you can scroll down and take a look at all the features and the comparison here. So I'll click on download and we'll see this particular tool getting downloaded. So that's about the Intellij Idea. Now let's talk about the JDK. So I'll open a new tab. I'll go to Google. Now to download JDK, you will have to search JDK download. And you see the first link over here for oracle.com. Now Java is owned by Oracle and hence you are redirected to this oracle.com, and you'll see the latest version of Java here at the top. So as I'm filming this video, I see Java SE 15, and if you scroll down you'll see Java 14 and 11 and so on. But don't worry if you see some other version here like 16 or 17 must have been released if you're seeing this video. So don't worry about that. I frequently update my videos if there is any major change in Java. I keep track of those changes. So for now, you can click on the JDK download and you'll be taken to this particular page over here. Java Software Edition Development Kit 15 downloads. And you will see over here that there are different files. So there is a file for Linux again, Mac OS installer, Mac OS compressed version, Windows 64-bit installer, Windows 64-bit compressed version. So I'm on Mac, so I'll be downloading this one. If you're on Windows 64-bit, you can download this one. So this is how you can get the JDK on your machine. So in this lecture, we understood how you can download Intellij Idea and JDK. I hope you guys enjoyed this class and found it valuable. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you.
Hello guys, welcome back. So in this lecture, we are going to install and set up Intellij Idea on our computer machine. And by the end of this lecture, you are going to have this software set up on your machine. So let's get started. So let's take a look at the steps that are involved for installing Intellij Idea. So when you open the installer for the first time, this is the welcome screen that you are going to see. You have to press next over here. On the next screen, you are going to see a screen similar to this, and it's going to ask you the destination folder on where it should install the Intellij Idea. If you want, you can change the installation location from this browse button, and it's also showing you the space required. Okay, so there's no need to change the setting over here. Okay, but if you want, you can customize it by clicking on browse button, or else you can click next. The moment you click next, you are going to see this screen which talks about some of the installation software that you might want to configure. So you can create a desktop shortcut, a 32-bit launcher and a 64-bit launcher. You can create associations. You can also update the path variable. So you can select the settings that you want. Okay. Then you can hit next. Once you click next, it is going to ask you to create a startup menu folder. Now, this is applicable only for Windows. You don't have to make any changes here and click on install. The moment you hit install, you are going to see a progress which resembles something like this. It's going to show you the installation status, okay, and progress bar is going to turn green when the installation is finished. And you will see the next button being enabled here once this progress bar completes. After this is done,
you are going to see an option like this. So you will be seeing this only on Windows right now and not on Mac and Linux. The setup will ask you to reboot the computer in order to make the installation successful. So you can click on reboot now, or you can select I want to manually reboot later. So whatever you choose, you have to select and hit finish. Now, when you open IntelliJ for the first time, you are going to see a screen that looks something like this. So IntelliJ is asking you to set the UI theme that you wish to work with. So for now, there are two themes available. One is the light theme and other one is the Darkula theme. Light theme looks like this and Darkula looks a little bit dark like this. So you can select theme you want. So I use normally IntelliJ Light and that's the theme that I prefer. So you can select the theme of your choice and hit skip remaining and set defaults. Now the moment you do this, you will be seeing a screen that looks something like this. So this is the welcome screen of Intellij IDEA. And you are seeing three options here. So the first option is it's asking you to create a new project. Then you have an option to open or import an existing project. The third option allows you to get the project from the version control. So we'll be using this option, create a new project. And for this, I'll be hopping on to our desktop and let's see this in action. So here I am on the desktop and I have IntelliJ open over here. This is the IntelliJ window that you'll see if you launch it. So like you can see, I'm seeing some of the recent projects that I have accessed on the left hand side. And if you're opening IntelliJ for the first time, you are not going to see this left pane over here. So I'm seeing this because I'm already using IntelliJ on my machine. So you will see this window and you'll see some options over here. So here now we'll be starting with creating a new project. So I'll just click on this and you'll see a window popping up. And this window is asking me on what sort of project do I want to create. So let's explore the various options that we have over here. So we can create a Java application, right? And you can see this drop down here. We can select the JDK version that we want. So these are the JDK versions that are already installed on my machine when I'm recording this. So I have JDK 1.7, Java version 1.8, then Java version 14. So I'll keep this 14 selected. Alternatively, I also have an option to add a JDK. For whatever reason, if a version of JDK that is installed on your machine that's not showing up over here, so you have an option here to add it from your machine. Also, you can download a JDK from here if you haven't installed it already. So I'll just select Java 14 and you can see the different options that you can select over here. So if you want to work with Groovy or Kotlin, you can check these. But we are not going to create a Groovy or a Kotlin project. So we'll hop on to the next option to explore it. So here you have an option of Maven, right? You can also create a Maven project. You can also create a Gradle project and you can select the required libraries and frameworks. So Java is by default ticked over here for me because I've already created a project with this configuration. And again, you can see this drop down on every screen. You can also create a Java FX application and you can create an Android application. So if you don't have an Android SDK installed on your machine, you can just click here to install the SDK. And you can use IntelliJ platform plugin. You can use Groovy, Kotlin, or you can create an empty project also. So we'll be going ahead with the Gradle option. We'll create a Gradle project and I'll select the Java as the library or framework that I want to go ahead with. And I'll create this on Java 14, right? So you can select the latest version of Java. If you have installed any latest version that is available, you can select that and go ahead. So after clicking on next, you can see that it's asking me for a project name over here, right? So I'll give in the project name as Intellij, Intellij course I can say. And you can see it added this project name to the directory name basically. So this is where my project will be actually located on my machine. So if you don't want your project to be created on this particular location, you can click on this icon here on the right hand side and you can change the location of the project creation. So Intellij gives us that flexibility, right? So I've given the project name and the location is set. So I'll go ahead and I'll click on finish. Now the moment I click on finish, you'll see some processing going on. So you see this editor opens up and you can see over here at the bottom right, there is some Gradle build process going on. So Gradle is actually building this particular project for you and it's installing all the libraries. So it will take a few seconds here for Gradle to finish processing and finish the setup for your course. And once the setup is finished, you will see a green tick over here. So this is your project name, Intellij course, and the processing is finished at this time. And you'll see some logs appearing over here, which you can ignore if the build is successful, right? So our build was successful. And so we are done with the setup. And we also have this build.gradle opening up over here in the editor. And you can see the project files on the left hand side. So this is how you can set up Intellij for the first time. You can go ahead and you can create your own project and you will land on the screen then, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this class and found it valuable. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Hello guys, welcome back. So in this lecture, we are going to explore Intellij IDEA a bit and we are going to understand the UI of Intellij. By the end of this lecture, you are going to have a clear understanding of what are the different sections in the interface of Intellij and how can you make use of it. So if you create a project for the first time, you are going to see an interface of something like this, right? And let me hop onto a presentation and let me show you what each section means. So you can see over here at the top, you have this navigation bar, which shows you the navigation. Okay. So if you are on a particular file, you are going to see like where this file is located. Here, just below it, you are going to see a project tool window. So this is the window wherein you will be seeing all the files in your particular project. So you are going to see classes, interfaces, and whatever you create in your project. At the bottom, you have this run tool window, wherein you are going to see the output of your program. Then if you right click on the editor, you are going to see the context menu. And this context menu is nothing but a pop-up window that has some options, right? So you can use those options depending on your need. And then here you have this coding editor. So this is what you see. This is the project window that we spoke about. And this project tool window has different files that exist in this particular project. So you can see .gradle file, .idea file. There is another Gradle file which has some jar and .properties. And these files are system generated, right? So .idea, .gradle is system generated and you don't need to touch it. So .gradle stores the settings or some configuration for the Gradle, okay? And .idea stores some of the project settings and workspace settings, as you can see. So it stores it in the form of XML and you don't need to bother about these files over here. You have to just leave them as it is. Where you will be working is the SRC folder. So under SRC, you will see the different packages. Okay, so I can see two packages here. One is the main package and the test package. Under main package, I have Java, wherein I'll be writing all my Java files. And under test, I have Java again. And here in this Java, I'll have all my test files. So if you are doing test-driven development, you can write the source code over here and then you can write the test files over here. Also, you will notice that the test files are marked in green. So you can see this green color over here, which indicates that your test files are to be residing over here. Then you have this build.gradle, right, which is nothing but the Gradle file, wherein you can mention all the dependencies that you want to use with your project. And then you can expand this external libraries, and you can see all the external libraries that are added here in the project. So I can see the Java version 14 is added, JUnit is added, version 4.12 as mentioned over here in my Gradle file. And then there is the Hamcrest core library version 1.3. So let's go ahead and let's create our first Java file. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to create the Java class, and I'm going to say, okay, hello world, and I'll press enter. So before pressing enter, I'll just tell you that you can see different options over here. You can create a class, interface, enum, and annotation. But the requirement here is to create a class. So I'll just press enter. You have a class over here, right? Now I'll just have an output printed here called hello world. So I have to write a main method here. So if you're familiar with Java, you will know that main method is mandatory if you want a class to execute. So instead of writing public static void main, I'll just write PSVM. And this is a shortcut for the main method syntax. Okay, if I just write PSVM public static void main, and if I press enter, you can see the public static void main being printed right on the screen. So this is how you can write a main method here, right? And you can also write system.out.println here. So instead of that, I'll just write in SOUT, press enter, and I'll say hello world, right? And now I need to run this code. So how do I run it? So you can run it either from here. You can press this green icon here. You can run the class, or you can run the method, right? Or you can right click, the context menu will appear, and you can just click over here, run hello world main. So I'll just click this. It runs. Okay, in this output window, you can see the execution here, right? And it was successful, and we are seeing the output here, hello world. This is what we printed. So this is how you can create a project and you can execute it. And also you can create a class and declare a main method, and you can see the output. So this is just an overview of Intellij as an IDE and how can you make the best use of the interface. So I hope you guys enjoyed this class and found it valuable. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Hello guys, welcome back. So in this lecture, we are going to talk about how you can install Presentation Assistant. So we are going to discuss this concept, or a plugin you can say, Presentation Assistants that work with Intellij. We are also going to discuss about Keymaps and how can you learn keyboard shortcuts. So after completing this lecture, you are going to have a complete understanding of these concepts, and you will also know why should you learn keyboard shortcuts, and it will also give you some motivation to transition into a serious developer. So if you are looking to transition into a serious developer, you will be spending most of your time working on the IDE. Okay, and learning keyboard shortcuts will not only make you more productive, but it will also save a lot of time, since you will be much more faster than before. So let's talk about the importance of learning keyboard shortcuts. So the first importance is that it saves a lot of time. So you will save a lot of your time if you have learned keyboard shortcuts to work with Intellij IDEA or any IDE, okay? Because you don't have to jump over to the mouse, right, again and again, and you can just work with the keyboard and get the tasks done quickly. You'll also become super productive. So since you're saving a lot of time, you will get done a lot of work in a minimal amount of time. So keyboard shortcuts are very important, like if you are looking to transition into a serious developer, because in the long run, it's very beneficial and it makes you a lot more productive in the long run, and you will become a very good developer if you are the master of the IDE. So there are some things that you should know, that keyboard shortcuts or learning keyboard shortcuts is a process. And this is something that does not happen overnight, right? So you learn keyboard shortcuts by using Intellij over and over again. You see different actions you perform on Intellij and remember the shortcut over a period of time for those specific actions that you do again and again. So this is how you will learn keyboard shortcuts. It's not a sort of theory wherein you sit by writing shortcuts on the piece of paper and you learn them. That's not how it's done. So you learn keyboard shortcuts by using Intellij Idea over and over again. So let me hop on to our IDE and let me talk about keymaps. So Intellij Idea has something called as keymaps. So let me go to the preferences. So I'll just click on this Intellij Idea icon over here. I'll go to preference. You can see the shortcut over here. So since I am on Mac, I'm seeing the shortcut of Mac, but if you are on Windows or Linux, you will see the corresponding shortcut for your machine. So for me, the shortcut is command comma. So I can press command comma, or I can just press over here and I can go to the preferences, right? So here in preferences, you will see an option called keymaps. Now keymaps are nothing but predefined set of keyboard shortcuts that you can select depending on your choice. And you can see over here that there is a drop down. You can see different keymaps over here. And I had the default one selected as Mac OS keymap, right? And that's because I am on a Mac machine. So if you are on Mac machine, you can keep this default one selected, Mac OS. And if you are on Windows or Linux, you can make sure that Xwin is selected by default, okay? So just switch to Xwin if it's not selected by default if you are on Windows machine. But we'll be exploring the other keymaps as well. So you can see over here, you have a keymap for Eclipse, you have Emacs, you have Intellij Idea Classic, you have NetBeans, Sublime Text, Visual Studio. So these are all IDEs. So Eclipse is an IDE, Sublime Text is an IDE, NetBeans is an IDE, and there are a specific set of shortcuts on Eclipse, NetBeans, Sublime Text. So what Intellij Idea has done is they have predefined set of shortcuts for Eclipse. So if you are an Eclipse user and if you are migrating to Intellij, you can select this Eclipse over here and you can use the shortcuts that you were using on the Eclipse IDE. So nothing changes for you. It's just the IDE change, but the shortcuts remain the same. So it's comfortable for you basically if you are switching the IDEs, and that's the benefit of keymaps over here. And these are some predefined keymaps over here. So we'll keep Mac OS selected, and there are different shortcuts over here, right? You'll see all these actions, right? So we have this Mac OS selected. Once we have keymaps set up, let's talk about presentation assistance. So what is presentation assistant? So this is a tool that we would be using for the purpose which will help us through the learning process. Okay. And we are going to learn a lot of keyboard shortcuts because of this tool called presentation assistant. So let me show this plugin to you. So I'll go to this plugins section. So on Intellij, you have a way wherein you can install plugins for some added functionality, right? And there are lots of plugins that have been created by Intellij itself and also by the third-party developers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here into the plugins section and I'll type over here presentation assistant, right? And there's nothing found. So I'll search in the marketplace, right? And you can see over here, this first one, presentation assistant. And this is the plugin that shows the name of the shortcuts of any action you invoke. So let's say if you copy, right, and you go to edit and you click on copy over here, or cut, okay. So let's say you do an action of cut. Now the cut action has the shortcut of Command X on Mac machine. So if you have Presentation Assistant installed, it will show you this shortcut over here appearing as the toast message. So this will make sure that you see that, okay, and you will memorize that shortcut over a period of time. And there will be a time wherein instead of going to this menu, you will immediately use that shortcut. So this is the benefit of Presentation Assistant. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit install. So it's installed here, right? And under appearance, okay, I'm not seeing an option yet. That's because I haven't clicked on apply. So I've installed this. So I need to click on apply. Now, once I click on apply, you will see this option coming. Okay, this option Presentation Assistant coming under appearance and behavior. So you have to go to this option, right? And you can see different settings over here, right? And from this setting, you have to make sure that you select the default key map, which you selected over here. So here I had selected macOS. So I'll make sure that I have macOS over here. I'll also display the alternative key map. Okay. So if you want, you can disable this, right? But I'll be keeping this on for my Windows student. So if a student is using Windows, he'll be seeing the corresponding shortcut over here for their Windows machine as well. And I have this setting over here. So I've kept the font size to 42. So 42 is big enough, right? So I'll be having 42 because I am teaching here and I want my students to see this shortcut here clearly. I've also increased the display duration to 8000 milliseconds so that it stays there for a while. So you can customize this as per your need. It's pretty flexible. And you can also just change the alignment, vertical alignment, the margin, etc. if you wish to. So I'll just hit OK. Okay. And let's see. So if you want to go to preferences, you press Command, comma on Mac. I'll just go from here. Okay. I'll go to preferences. Okay. I didn't see this coming up over here yet. Okay. So I think I need to restart the IDE. So let's see what happens if you restart. Okay. You can see it worked. So reload all from disk. Okay. And this is the shortcut. Okay. So now I'll show you Presentation Assistant in action. So I'll go ahead and I'll try running this file over here. So I'll click on this icon over here, run icon. So this is also a way in which you can run your source code. So you can see the moment I hover on this button, you can see the shortcut appearing, right? And the shortcut was Control R for Mac. So if you hover on this, you will see the shortcut for your machine. I'll click on this. And you can see the pop-up from Presentation Assistant over here. So run Hello World. And this is also my shortcut. And this is the shortcut for Windows or Linux users. So you can see I'll run again. This is a shortcut for Windows or Linux users. Shift F10. You'll see this pop-up over and over again if you perform a particular action. And let's say now next time I'll just press Control R. So you just learn this shortcut over a period of time if you are doing that action again and again. And that's the benefit of Presentation Assistant over here. So that's about this class, guys. So in this lecture, we understood what is Presentation Assistant. We also spoke about key maps, and we also spoke about the importance of learning keyboard shortcuts. So I hope you guys enjoyed this class and found it valuable. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Hello guys, welcome back. So in this lecture, we are going to talk about how can you change themes of your IDE and how can you change its appearance. So let's get started. So Intellij IDEA has a concept of themes which allows us to change the appearance of the IDE. And to change the theme, you can go to View and you can select Quick Switch Theme. Okay, if I click on this, you'll see the shortcut appearing over here for Mac and for Windows. You will also see this pop-up coming up over here, right, on the editor. And you'll see 5 options. So you have first option as editor color scheme and the 5th option as theme. So you can select either 1 or 5. They both actually land on the same thing. So I'll just select editor color scheme and you will see different themes coming up over here. And you can see I am on IntelliJ Light. Now I can change it to high contrast, Darkula, or classic light. So I can switch to Darkula, right? And it says, looks like you have set, okay, dark editor color scheme. Would you like to set it? Yes. So I'll say yes. And you can see the appearance of the IDE changes instantly. And this is a dark theme, okay? And this dark theme is easy on your eyes if you are coding for long hours, right? So I'll just go again over here, right? So I went here by shortcut, okay? I pressed Control and this button over here. But if you are on Windows, you can use the corresponding shortcut and you can go to theme. Now I can also change it to Mac OS Light. So you can see this Mac OS Light over here, right? I can again go over here. I can go to theme. You can see the preview also. So if I change Darkula, you can see the preview. High contrast, you can see the preview, right? You can see the preview of Mac OS Light and IntelliJ Light. So Mac OS Light and IntelliJ Light are both almost the same. There might be a few differences here and there, but yeah. But yeah, I'll stick to IntelliJ Light, which is by default, right? So I'll press enter over here and I'm on IntelliJ Light. So you can change this theme or the appearance of your IDE depending on your choice. You can also install a custom theme. So we saw that we have 4 themes here, right here, but you have an option to install a theme of your choice. So you can go to plugins.jetbrains.com. So I have it already open in my browser. So I am on plugins.jetbrains.com, right? And this is the website that you'll see. So what you can do is you can hit on search over here, right? So I'll just hit on search, right? And you'll see some themes appearing over here and I can click on show more. You'll keep on seeing themes. Darkula theme is already there installed, right? You can select the theme of your choice. You can also select a material theme. So I'll just open this, right? And it'll load over here. And this is the theme. This is how your IDE will look after you install this. This is the light theme that you have, right? So you can see the ratings, the number of downloads, right? Some reviews out here. And to install it, you can just click on this install to IDE and it will by default pick the IntelliJ version that you have installed on your system, right? And if you click on this and if you go over here, it will directly show you a pop-up to install. But I'm not installing. Yeah, you can install it and you can try it out. Yeah, there are lots of themes available here, right? You can just click on show more, and you can just browse through it. Look at this Codely TV theme, right? So this is a different theme with a different look. You can just install it, right? So this is about themes and how can you change the appearance of your IDE to maximize your productivity. So I hope you guys enjoyed this class and found it valuable. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Hello guys, welcome to this class. So in this lecture, we are going to talk about how you can further alter the appearance of your IDE for maximum productivity. So here on IntelliJ IDEA, you are seeing this different panes over here, or different windows, I should say. So this is the project tool window, right? And every window has something called as view mode. So this is a window, okay, project tool window. You can click on this option over here and you can see this option here, view mode. Now under view mode, you'll see this option by default selected, which is dock pinned. There are more options over here. I'll explain what each option means. So dock pinned means this is the default view, okay, or the default option where the window is always visible along with the other window. So this project tool window is always visible along with the other window. Even this one. So if you go to view mode, you'll see dock pinned, right? Now, let's say for an example, I just want this particular window to be visible only when it's active. So whenever I am changing the files, I want this window to be visible and not the otherwise. The reason is simple, because it's taking up a little bit space on my screen and I want editor to take up the maximum space. How do I achieve that? So I can go over here into view mode and I can change it to dock unpinned. Now dock unpinned is a view where window is only visible when it's active and it won't obstruct the other window. I'll just change this to unpinned, right? Now once I've changed it to unpinned, okay, I'll move to the editor. And the moment I move to the editor, you will see this project tool window is hidden now, right? And that's because it's not active. Now, if I want to change the file, so let's say if I'm on hello world.java and I want to open some other file, I can go over here and I can change the file from here. Okay. And it will stay here till I'm working on this. And the moment I switch, it will disappear again. So this is the benefit of dock unpinned, right? I can also change it to undock, right? And undock is basically visible, okay, only when active, but it will cover the part of the editor. So here you're seeing that whenever you open this, the editor also shrinks and it makes way for this window. But with undock, right, you'll see editor going behind, right, and this opening up over the editor, right? So this is the difference between undock. There is another option called float, and float will detach itself from the window, right, and it will float around. You can use this option basically, right, if you want, and you also have an option to convert this into a window. So this becomes a separate window, right? And window option is helpful if you have a dual screen setup. So if you have a dual screen setup, you can just move this onto the different window or the different screen, I mean to say. So I'll just change this to dock pinned, right? And you can use this same options, okay, across all these windows to maximize basically the productivity, or it will help you, right? So I'll just disable this. I'll just disable this, right? Now this particular thing is active only when it's needed, right? And you have the maximum space for your editor. So you can edit your code over here and you can work on it, okay? And basically these unnecessary things which were there are now removed and only active when you need them. So once you're done with the customizing the layout, you can go to Windows. So over here I can go to Windows and I can say store current layout as default. So this will make sure that the current layout which the IDE is set to will become the default, okay, whenever you open the window or whenever you open the IDE. Now you can also arrange the windows for maximum productivity, okay? So how would you do that? So you have this editor over here, okay? What you can do is you can open this run pane. So let's say if you are writing some code wherein you have to run the file again and again. So what you can do is you can just open this run pane. You can go over here and you can say move to right, right bottom. So you can see the screen is now divided into two sections, okay? You can see the output as well over here, right? And you can maximize this and you can keep on writing the code and you can keep on seeing the output, right, over here. I can also change this to dock pinned, right? And this will never go away, and you can have this two screen split setup, right? And you can work on this, right? So I'll just make any changes. I'll just run the code and you can see the output right then and there. This type of setup is also helpful if you are doing some test driven development, and you can have test files open on this right screen or right split, right? And on the left split, you can have your actual coding files. So this is pretty helpful and it makes your life much more easy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this class and found it valuable. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Hello guys, welcome back. So in this lecture, we are going to talk about how can you move code around in Intellij IDEA and what are some of the productive ways of doing that. So we'll be talking about moving lines of code, moving methods, and also moving loops or a block of code. So let's get started. So first we'll be talking about moving lines of code. So let's say I have this line of code here, right? And I want to move it, okay, like just one step below. Or let's say I want to move it at the end of the file. Now what is the ideal way of doing that? So one way, or the traditional way of doing that, is to select, to cut it, and to move it and paste it over here, right? Now let me show you what's the better way with IntelliJ. So I can move my caret onto the line of code that I want to move around. I can go to code and I have this option here, move line down and move line up. So if I select move line up, so you can see the shortcut over here. It's option, shift and up arrow for my editor or for my operating system, right? So I'll select move line up, right? You can see the shortcut here for Windows or Linux. So I'll just use the shortcut and I'll keep on moving this particular line. You can see how it's moving across the file, right? So this is one way of moving your code or a line of code around, and this way is very helpful rather than copy pasting, right? So you can do it without the help of mouse. So you just need to learn this shortcut, right? And it will be very easy for you. Now there might be scenarios wherein you might want to move methods around. So let's say I have this method, okay, method 2. Now let's say I want to move this declaration here at this particular position. So one way of doing that is just cutting this and pasting it over here. But there is a better way of doing it. So I can take my caret to the method signature. I'll go to code and you have this option, move statement up and move statement down. So you can see the shortcut as well. So for Mac, it's command, shift and up arrow, right? So I'll say move statement up. Okay, so you can see it shifted to the top, right? I can again press command, shift and down. You see I'm moving up and down now. So this is one way of moving your code or your method around, I should say. You can see the corresponding shortcut for Windows or Linux machine over here. And this is very helpful. You can move it across the file, right? So this entire method, and it's very handy that way. So this is how you move methods around. Let's talk about how can you move statements around. So let's say I have a statement. Okay, I would say integer I is equal to 0, right? I dot. So you saw this shortcut, right? So I declared a variable I is equal to 0. What I did is I dot. Let's say I want to use a for loop using this variable I. What I can do is I just wrote I dot, and you can see I got this suggestion for I, and it will generate this entire for loop for me. So I'll just press enter. You can see, right? So there is a for loop which is being created automatically, right? And you see, so I'll just change this to 10, right? And I'll just print here for, right? So just a dummy for loop that I've created to show you how you can move the blocks of code. So traditional way is of course copy pasting. I can just copy this and paste it wherever I want. But a better way is to take your caret onto the beginning of for, right, over here. And I'll go to code and I can say move statements down. So you can see it's shifting down. I can use the shortcut alternatively and it will move around. So this is one of the productive ways of moving statements up and down. So I hope you guys enjoyed this class and found this lecture valuable. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Hello guys, welcome back. So in this lecture, we are going to talk about Camel hump technique. By the end of this lecture, you are going to have a clear understanding of how can you use Camel hump technique, which will help you reduce a lot of typing effort. So let's get started. So whenever you want to import or use a class, you start typing its name, right? So let's say I want to use runtime exception. So I'll type in run and I'll select the runtime exception from the suggestion. But there is a better way of doing this. So it's called Camel hump technique. If you take a look at this class name, runtime exception, you will notice that there are two capital letters in it. Okay. What this means is you can access or get this class name in the auto suggest by only typing its class name. And this is what is known as camel hump technique. So instead of typing runtime, I can just say RE. And you can see all the classes which are having RE as the capital letter, okay, which is known as a camel hump, come up as the auto suggest, right? And I can select the one I want. Is for inbuilt classes, but I can also use this technique for my own classes that I have defined. So I have defined nested demo, right? Instead of typing nested demo, I can type in ND and you will see I'll get nested demo as the suggestion. So I can use it the way I want. So this is nothing but the camel hump technique, right? And you can also get access to the methods basically. So once you have created the object of the class, you can access the object dot and you'll get a list of methods that you can access. So this is a way in which a camel hump technique can be used. So I hope you guys enjoyed this class and found it valuable. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Hello guys, welcome back. So in this lecture, we are going to talk about how can you change signatures for methods and classes. This lecture will help us understand on how IntelliJ makes it really easy for us to update signatures. So let's get started. So I have this method over here, method 2, which is within this class nested demo. And this method is being called from nested demo main over here, right? I'll close everything else. And this method is being called from here twice. So let's say I want to update the signature of this particular method. Now, how would I do it? So the traditional way of doing it is going over here. So let's say I want to add one parameter over here. So I want to say integer a. The moment I do this, I'll see an error message here saying two related problems. And the moment I click on this, it is going to open this particular pane over here. And I'm going to see the error over here. So the errors are coming in this another file called nested demo main, which is here, right? And I'm seeing the error marks here. Now the traditional way would be to go and update and add a parameter here, right? But this is not possible, or this is very tedious when you have a large project with a lots of method call at different files in different places, right? So how would you handle that? So there are two ways to handle it. So the first way is you can see this edit icon here. So when I added this particular parameter here, integer a, our edit icon just came up over here, okay, with the R alphabet. So I'll click on this edit. It says update usages to reflect the method signature, right? So it's suggesting that you need to update the usages of this particular method to reflect the signature changes. So I'll say next, right? And now it's asking me for a default parameter for the parameter a. So now it's asking me for a default value for the parameter a. So since I've added the parameter a, I need to pass in the default value. I'll say 10 and I'll click on update. So the moment I update, you see the code is updated to 10. Okay. You can even go into the file and see it's updated to 10 and there is no error whatsoever. So what this option does is it updates the method signature and it takes the default value by asking you the default value and it adds the default value wherever this particular method call is being done. Okay, so there is one more way of changing the method signature. So let's say if I want to change the method signature of this particular method again, so I can right click, I can go to refactor and there is an option to change the signature along with the shortcut. So command F6, or I can also go to refactor, okay, and there is an option to change the signature again. So refactoring was Shift F6. This is Command F6, okay, for Mac. So if I press Command F6, you can see Control F6, it's for Windows or Linux. Now the moment I press this, okay, shortcut, or I select it from the options menu, whatever, you see this pop-up of change signature. So it says the visibility of the method is public, return type is void, the name is method2, and these are the parameters, right? And let's say I want to add one more parameter. Let's say I want to add parameter b. No, I want to add parameter with integer. Okay, I'll say b. So just observe as I'm typing, you are seeing the preview of the method over here. And it's asking me for a default value also. So I don't want to add a default value, let's say, right? And it will ask whether I want to modify the existing method or I want to delegate this via overloaded method. So if I select this, it will make one more method, okay? And it will add this as the new method, okay? And it will be called as an overloaded method. Now for B, I can add a default value of 20, let's say, right? And it says like default value 20, right? There's no default value, I guess, for A. That's fine, yeah. So this is our method. I can do a preview or I can directly refactor. So the moment I do preview, I'll see where all these changes are being applied, right? So the one change is being applied over here, right? And one change will be applied here. So I'll go ahead and I'll say do refactor. And you can see refactoring is done. So here, this method has one more parameter now. And over here, you can see two parameters are being passed with the default value for the second parameter as specified by us is 20. I'll again go to that pop-up which we just saw. So Command F6 or Control F6 on Windows or Linux. Now here you can also change the order of the parameter. So let's say I want A, let's say I want B to come first and A to come second. So I can just select A and press this down arrow. You can see the order got changed. And select this and order got changed again. So this is how you can do a lot with method signatures, and this is how IntelliJ makes it really easy for you to update the changes. Now let's talk about how can you change the signatures of the classes. So to change the signature of classes, you can use the same shortcut. Okay, so I'll just minimize this. So let's say I want to change the signature of this particular class, or let's say I'll create a class. Okay, I'll create a class test, signature test. Okay, and I'll press Command F6 or Control F6, whatever. Now here you'll see this pop-up. This is a different pop-up that we saw for method. Okay, so I can add a parameter here. Okay, I can say K and I can say integer, right? And I'll refactor. Okay, I need to specify the default value for integer. I'll say 20. Wrong default value, it says. Okay, sorry. So the default value is integer and bound value is nothing. I'll just remove this bound value. Okay, and I'll refactor. So the moment I do this, you see the signature is changed for this particular class. So this is how you can update the signatures, right? And the moment I do this, if this class is being used somewhere, the updates will be done to that particular usages as well. So for example, just to give you a demo. So if I add a main method over here, let's say, and if I create an object of this class, let's say, for example, if I remove this, let's say the signature change. So there are no errors now. Okay. And let's say if I go on to change the signature, let's say I add K and the default value of integer and I do refactor, you see it's being changed. So all the objects that are being created in the project for that particular class will be updated to the new signature. So that's the benefit. And with the help of this, you can even preview the changes. So before making the changes, you can actually preview it one by one. So I directly pressed refactor, but if you want to preview, you can happily do it from here. So this is how you can do refactoring of methods and classes within the Intellij project. So I hope you guys enjoyed this class and found it valuable. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Hello guys, welcome back. So in this lecture, we are going to talk about some of the tips and tricks that will help you as a software developer to navigate through your project in a very productive way. So let's get started. So navigating in a project is very important. Like if the project is very large, you might be wanting some easy ways using which you can navigate to the file or a method that you want to. So let's talk about some of the shortcuts. So the very first shortcut that I'm going to discuss is the double shift. So if you press double shift, right, you will see this pop-up opening up, and you can access this double shift from navigate and search everywhere. So you can see this search everywhere. So if you press double shift, it opens up this pop-up using which you can search for anything in your project. So you can say main, right? And it will show you everything. So it will show you the main methods under the symbol, and then you have under files, you will see these two files. You will also see this classes, and you'll also see some actions, right? So you can select whatever you want. So I'll go to this main in hello world, and if I press enter, I just go there, right? So this is how you can search for everywhere within the project. You can also search for any actions that you want to, basically, and the shortcut for that on Mac is Command Shift A, and on Windows and Linux it's Control Shift A. So if you press this shortcut, you will see this pop up, and you can search for anything you want. So I can search for font. Let's say if I want to update the font, so I'll see this is coming font in preferences, and I can hit enter, right? And straight away I'm here, and I can update the font, and I can press escape. So it was pretty easy. So Command Shift A and Control Shift A for Windows. You can also search for any classes that you want to within your project, and the shortcut for that is Command O. So it's Command O on Mac and Control plus N on Windows or Linux, right? And you can also access this from navigate and go to class. So here I am on the classes tab, and I can type in the class I want. So I can say nested. You can see that it's also showing me the inner class. So nested is the inner class in nested demo, right? And I want to go to nested demo, let's say. So I'll go to nested demo, right? And I'm here, and you can see it was showing us this class in the search. So you can go to the class of your choice that you want to by directly typing in the class name with the help of this shortcut. You can also use a camel hump technique. So I can only type in the capital letters of the class. So N, T. So you can see this is a camel hump technique using which you can navigate to the class of your choice, and you don't need to type in the entire class name. So I'm there in this class, right? You can also go to a particular line, right? So let's say within nested demo, right, I want to go to line number, let's say 11. So I can just press colon, and I can put in the line number, and I can press enter. So I'll go to line number 11 straight away. So these kind of shortcuts help you a lot, right, to navigate through the project. If you have a project that has hundreds of files and there are lots of packages also, so it might be very tedious for you to use this project tool navigation here, which you have on the left side. And if you want to go without mouse, if you're using just your keyboard, then these shortcuts will be very helpful, right? Also, one more thing I would like to tell you is, let's say I'm in this nested demo class, right? And I press Command O, and I went to hello world, right? So from nested demo, I came to hello world. Now let's say I want to go back to the place where I came from. So how do I do that? So I can use command and opening bracket. Okay, I'll just press this and I can come back. And on Windows or Linux, you can use Control Alt and back arrow. So command and opening bracket was for Mac, right? So you can use that, and you can also use command and like closing bracket on Mac to go forward, right? And Control Alt forward on Windows or Linux. So you can come back, come forth, come back, come forth. So this is very helpful basically if you are working with multiple files. Okay, let's say if I navigated to a file, let's say I navigated to user file, right? And I don't want to come over here. Okay, I realized later on and I want to go back. So I'll just press command and opening bracket on Mac or Control Alt backward button on Windows or Linux. So this is pretty helpful to navigate, right, to and forth from the old file, okay, after jumping to the new one. You can also press Command Shift O, right, to search for a file. So instead of classes, you can search for files, right, and you can type in any file name you want. So I can say build.gradle. I can look for build.gradle and go in build.gradle, right? I can also look out for folders here, right? So I can say Java and I can say like a /, right? So with the help of /, I can search for folders, right? So Option Command O allows you to search for symbols on the Mac, right? And Alt Shift Control plus N allows you to search for symbols on Windows or Linux. So you can use the right shortcut according to your operating system and you can search for symbols. Now what are symbols? So let's say I want to go to this method, okay, get view. So you can see get view, get user ID, get username, get user city. I can also use Camel hump technique here, get user city. See? And I'll go over here, right? So this is how you can search for any symbols, right? Any methods that you want to look for. You can use a search symbol option. You can also go to the project tool window here, right? So I've pressed command 1. Okay, now my cursor is over here. I can straight away start typing in over here. So I can say hello world, right? And it will straight away perform the search for me within that particular window and I can press enter, right? So you can also search for anything and jump onto a file that you want with the help of project tool window. So these are some of the shortcuts that help you navigate and search through the project. Now let me talk about some more shortcuts that will enhance your productivity even more. While doing development, you might want to go to a recent file location that you just accessed. So Intellij allows you to access the recent file location using Command E on Mac and Control E on Windows and Linux. So if you press Command E on Mac or Control E on Windows or Linux, you'll see this pop up. And this shows you the list of recent places that you have been to. So I can just select any of the file that I've been to recently and I can go to that file, right? I can also see the list of recent locations that I have been to by pressing Shift Command and E on Mac and Control Shift E on Windows or Linux. Once you press this shortcut, you will see this pop up, which will show you the list of recent locations that you have been on, right? So for example, like recently I've been in hello world.java and I have been in main method over here. I've been in user.java before that and I've accessed get user city. And before that I was in build.gradle. So you can see these are the recent locations that I have been to and I can select any of the location. Okay, let's say I want to go to this location. I can click on that. I can just press enter, right, instead of clicking, and I can go to that location. Let's say then I realize like I don't want to be here and I want to go back. So I can press command and the opening bracket, like opening bracket key on Mac or Control Alt back arrow key on Windows to come back to the original location. So this is how you can access recents. Okay, you can access recent files and recent locations and navigate through them using IntelliJ. So you can also navigate between files and look for usages. So let's say I have this method 2 over here, and method 2 is declared here in nested demo. Now let's say I want to see where all this method 2 is being used. So I want to see the usages of method 2. So I can just press Command B on Mac and Control B on Windows and Linux, right? And I can just see where all this is being used. So I can see, so like you can see, it's being used in nested demo main on line number 13. Okay. And this is the method call that we are doing to this, and we are passing 10,20. Again, on line number 14, we are calling this again, and we are passing the same parameters. And then in user.java, I'm passing this same parameter again with the same method call, right? I can go over here. Okay, let's say I navigate to user.java. Okay, I see this method call. I just comment it, right? I just comment this code, and I pressed command and opening bracket key, okay, or alt, control and back arrow key on Windows on Linux, and I came back, right? So you can navigate to and fro with the help of keyboard only, right, in IntelliJ, and make your life and development much more productive. So these were some of the tips and tricks that help you navigate through your project. You can also search, access recents, and navigate between files with the help of these shortcuts. So in this lecture, we understood and took a look at some of the productive ways in which you can navigate through your project, you can search through your project, you can access recents, and you can navigate between file while looking for usages. So I hope you guys enjoyed this class and found it valuable. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you.